So I'm here to talk through the Slitherlink by Takeya Saikachi called Similar Instances, and that's in part for both repeated clue styles and also repeated forms of logic as we work around the grid. I'm going to start with the 0-3 clue. This is the easiest clue in a Slitherlink because once you mark off this edge, you have to take the others around this 3, and it's the same pattern down below, so these clues work together. But also what we're forming sometimes when we mark these in the grid is now an effective 0 near a 3 clue. And so another place we do the same thinking. So this is one of the first patterns anyone learns in the Slitherlink, and we'll see it a lot in this puzzle. Another thing to know at the start is this grid has 4 corners that are all the 4 different kinds of numbers. So a 0 in a corner doesn't tell us too much, but we can't actually work through a 3 in the corner unless we take these cells. So that's the same thinking will apply up here. We always have to take these cells when we're working around a corner. This 2 in the corner needs to come off these edges, and now that we've actually put in this 3, it's forcing something here, which is important. So that's a good place to make some headway. Well, we haven't looked at this 1 in the corner. It, at least at the start, should tell us we can't use these ends. And the way this works is we're going to have one end that's around this 1 clue, like this or this, and the other end is around this 2 clue. And so this is probably the most key place to look in this puzzle for those who are still getting used to the style, is because it's also intersecting not just this 1-2 interaction, but the ways these 3 clues work together. So a 3 diagonal to another 3 will always have to take these outside clues for this to work. Way to think about that is to see that this cell cannot be part of 2 loop edges around this 3, because then this can't be a 3. So this only is able to take 1 edge here or 1 edge here. So the unused edge of the 3 is going to be one of these. So these are the diagonal ones taken. That now marks this edge off as unused, puts these in, finishes this 1, so puts this down, puts this up. And now coming back to the 1-2 clue we just talked about, we can't take this edge, so we always have to take this edge. That finishes the 2, marks us in. And now we really have the right headway to make a lot of progress into this puzzle. So this is the most key step, I think, for most solvers to see. If you now take the edge to the left side of the 1, you're going to close off the loop too quickly. So you don't take those. Instead, you take this top edge, come out this way. This 2 can't take these, so it has to take this edge. That now finishes this 1 and makes another 0-3 type clue, which we saw before. Marks off these edges. This comes and connects. This comes over. This comes up. We can't come through this space around, so this end here has to connect to this end here, so it can't come across the top of this 2 clue, but that means it's going to have to come down and over. That means we come this way and finish this 3 this way. Here's another 0-3 clue. Marks these up, and these loop ends just have to come and connect. This loop end at the bottom we haven't looked back at yet, but we can look at it now. It has to come over to the left side because there's nothing for it to connect with to the right. And we now have a case where we've got 2 ends in the bottom, and we can draw an imaginary line across this row and say, is there a way I get more ends into the space? Like if I came through this 2 clue in the center, like between these 2 clues, the sandwich set, I now have 3 ends down here, and I can form some connection, but I'm always leaving an end unused. And so this is another sort of middle-level difficulty way of thinking through a Slitherlink puzzle, but it's pretty key when you can draw either a region of the puzzle in or draw across a line like a row or column of clues. You need to have an even number of crossings that work there. And that means at this moment we can't take another end down. We need to just have these 2 ends. They need to work together. These ends work together. Notice this bottom and right side of the grid is now potentially all the same loop. So these have to stay and dodge, and this still has to even dodge to here. Forces this connection up. This 3 is now effectively in a corner, so just as we said at the start, we've got to come through and take those 2 pieces. This end has to come up, and we haven't looked back at this space, but these 3 3s that are diagonally touching start with this pattern. And so now let's again look at this region. So if I sort of mark this upper left corner, I can't come over to the right at all, and that means I do need to have 2 loop ends coming out of this, or this closes on itself. So I need this end and this end to come down and not stay together. So that forms this space. These ends continue to dodge, and this 2 clue is now finished. So this comes down, continues to dodge, this comes in. I can't work around the left side given the 0 clue is here, so I have to work this way. So these 2s are all now valid. Now the left side of the grid has a pretty similar form of the loop closing on itself. So just as we saw in the lower right, we're going to see in this case these have to dodge, this still has to dodge, this comes up, it now finishes the 1 clue. These come together, this 3 now has to come straight down, which means this comes straight down, this goes over, and we finish the puzzle by joining to form 1 loop. So a really fun middle difficulty puzzle by Takeya. This is a good sign by the middle of the Starter Pack 4 series book that Takeya wrote for us in Slitherlink of the kinds of steps to look ahead with. Certainly uses some of the common patterns, but I think the most key step was seeing a little bit of how to think through these corner clues and an implied loop edge coming from this 1 into this 2, which works as well with this 3-3-3 clue combination to really seed the grid. And from there, the rest of the steps are a little more typical, except maybe for the loop end counting in the bottom section here. So some good things to learn from this puzzle, and certainly from the starter pack book as well. So thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you again soon.